Welcome to this program today called Unleashing Potential. Oh man, are you in for a treat? On with me today, I have the expert Soria van Wyngaardt, who is one of the co-authors of this book, The Discipline Lifestyle. And Soria, I'm so glad I have you on the line to speak to you today because you are the author of the physical part in terms of physical discipline. Soria, tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Well, first off, Anne, thank you very much for inviting me on your channel and making me part of the book. I'm a personal trainer and a qualified Pilates instructor. I specialize mostly in women in their perimenopause and postmenopausal. And my main focus is body, soul, spirit. It's not just physical, it's also the other two, your mental state, your spiritual state, which influences the whole being of a human.
I find that fascinating. I mean, because in my mind, when I thought physical discipline, the first thing to my mind is body. And I'm like, okay, let me get my body right. But now you lead us into body, soul, and spirit. Help me understand with the listeners why those three categories that you normally look at.
Okay, well, as a Christian, in the Word of God in Matthew 22, it clearly says Jesus gives us the command and says, love God with all your heart, all your mind, and all your spirit. Okay, so that to me is your heart is your physical, your mind is your emotional, and your spirit is your spiritual. And God created us to his image, and God is spirit. And that's why we worship him in spirit and in truth. So to me, it is God gave me this body. There's a reason why I'm on earth. So I need to look after this body. But in this body, I have a spirit and a soul, which I also have to look after. So I try to combine all three of those. And I've experienced in my life that when one area of your life goes pear-shaped, you can always know it's going to affect the other two as well. So when we struggle, I try to tell my clients, have a look at your body. Are you feeding it properly? Are you doing exercises? Look at your spirit. Are you feeding your spirit? Look at your soul. What's happening there? Are you happy? Are you doing things that brings you joy? And if all three of those are in line, then you are a very well-rounded, happy person.
So am I understanding correctly that if a person, for instance, is battling in his spiritual side, and literally, I normally say, let's score things out of 10. Let's use an example. The guy says, physically, in my body-wise, I feel like I'm a 7 out of 10, but spiritually, man, I'm a 2 out of 10. Do you believe that the one will influence the other in terms of execution?
I do believe that because you're not going to have faith in yourself to know that you are good enough to achieve a 10 out of 10. You're always going to think, I'm a failure, or no, I'm spiritually not strong enough. But before we carry on, I just want to give a disclaimer as well. I am a qualified trainer and a personal trainer, but I'm not a doctor and I'm not a pastor. So what I'm giving you is out of my own experience and dealing with clients and human beings overall.
Well, I'm very excited because that means normal people like you and me talking to each other, helping the rest of the world. Because you know what? I think there's a dilemma in terms of personal change. People battle to change. The moment they hear the word change, they want to run a mile. But yet the only thing that is consistent is change because things just do not stay the same. Like my body shape. You know, Soria, you know, there was a time in my life where look, number one, I am built like a brick. Let's talk about the obvious. I'm built like a brick. But I used to be 20 kilograms heavier than what I am now. And that was, and you're quite right, at a time where things were out of balance. You know, I was not at a good place spiritually, and therefore I was also battling to get myself right physically. And as we started stepping up, but the truth is, I couldn't do it by myself. I needed a person like you. Now, in terms of that program and spending time with you, it was soon clear to me that you are actually very, can I say, strict in terms of helping people be strict on themselves. Why is it that there's that element of strictness that comes out with mentorship and coaching?
I think it's a lot to do with your personality, you being the guru on that part. I'm a very black and white person. There's little gray area in my life. If I have too much gray area, I tend to failure. So I'm black or white, black and white. So with my clients, I'm the same with them. It's either right or wrong. You cannot negotiate your way around, okay, I want to train, but actually not that hard. Or I want to eat healthy, but every weekend I'm going to binge on alcohol or binge on chips or cookies or whatever. It's not negotiable. You're not going to achieve anything. And with that, I'm also not saying be so strict that you deprive yourself, but try to get a balance. So it's all about balance, but you have to have goals and you have to plan and you have to try and really stick to it. Otherwise, you're not going to achieve it.
Let's assume I take on the challenge and I say, right, I would like to get my life on track, and I am in agreement with you. So out of the 7 days of the week, am I at least going to have leeway one of those days, or is it just hard and fast? Talk to me.
No, we believe in the Sabbath. So 6 days you work, you train hard. 7th day you rest. So in the book in the book as well, you'll see I wrote about restore, rest, detox. Okay. That is your 7th day. You don't train that day. You release. You give yourself some off time. You relax. You pamper yourself. And yes, it doesn't mean you can't have a slice of cake, or if you want your drink, everything in moderation. But you can't have that 5 days a week and expect to have any results.
Yeah. Well, yes. Okay.
So 6 days clean eating, hard work, training. 7th day rest. Rest and look after yourself, restore and have balance.
I find it interesting. I see on page 123 in the book, and by the way, for those that aren't aware, the Discipline Lifestyle is available on Amazon.com with the subtitle Self-Control Through Behavior Modification, which means anything can change. It's just how you approach it and how you activate it. And in section 2, Soria speaks of just start when it's reaching a crossroad in your life where you just need to make the start. Because, Soria, I'm honest with you, so many people start off and then they just fade away after, call it week 2. I mean, they start at week 1, and all of a sudden they hit Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and by the time the second week, maybe the Tuesday and the Thursday, by third week, they stop doing it. What's the problem with it? Why is the average person not allowing themselves to follow through? What's wrong?
I personally think it's when you've got peer pressure or pressure from outside, or even guilt tripping yourself into thinking, I have to diet, I'm getting overweight, my life is out of control. And that's a wrong perception to take if you want success. The penny needs to drop and the mind change needs to happen. So that's why I say always stop at your T-junction and decide, this is what I want. Why do I want this? How is it going to help me to grow as a person? Am I going to be happy when I achieve this? Because if it's just a physical thing, you're not going to be happy. After 3 months, you're going to have your goal weight, you're going to look good, but you're not going to be happy. And after 2 weeks, 3 weeks, you've started picking up those kilograms again. So that's where the emotional, the soul and the spirit comes in. You need to align all 3 of those to achieve your goal.
Oh, I love it. So the balance is absolutely imperative. Okay, so now
Very
I decided,
much.
all right, I am sick and tired of my little cuddly body. My wife is looking at me and saying to me, did you see your gut hanging over your belt? And you're like, oops. You can only put it in momentarily. You can't keep it there. And you decide, all right, I want to do it. Now, you've got 2 choices. Either you start doing it by yourself, or you start doing it with a mentor like you, a professional. So what have you found in terms of the difference between people who try it by themselves versus people who actually have a mentor in place? Talk to me about that.
People who have a coach or trainer who they are accountable to have better results. People who try and do it by themselves, they think, well, I've learned and I can try. If they're not committed enough, they won't. Failure is always there.
And not that today is about behavior, but I can tell you that in particular, there are 3 other behavior types that battle a little bit with discipline. And it's most naturally just for one of the 4 to be natural at applying the discipline, but we're not talking about that. All I'm saying is it does play a role, and I'm just leaving that on the shelf for discussion maybe some other day. Soria, would you mind going to page 131? I was blown away by literally this table that I saw that helped me understand that there are sort of three parts of understanding the body, the soul, and the spirit. Can you maybe just do that for me?
Detox body, reset soul, repent spirit.
Yeah. So obviously there's for you those three keywords. So for the body, you believe we need to start off with a detox. In terms of the soul, you believe we have to reset it. And then in the spirit, we have to repent of ways so that we can get back on track. Is that your recipe for getting back on track?
Yes, personally, that's how it works for me. Now, with detox, let's just take into account our bodies are already created to detox itself.
Oh, okay.
So this is, yes, we've got our liver, we've got lungs, we've got blood circulation. Those are all natural human detox functions in our body. But what happens is with our exterior toxins working into our bodies, and even our mental capacity, sometimes we have to set a day aside and say, okay, I'm starting to detox. And it's more for the mental change of mind. That's where the reset your soul comes in. Because now you've decided, okay, I'm going to detox. I'm going to do something for my body just to reset the mind, to get the mind into the game as well. And decide, okay, I want to get on track. I want to feel better. I want to be healthy. I want to be positive, gratitude, all of that. And then spirit is normally repent of that which have caused you to stumble. I mean, if it's binge eating, if it's emotional eating, if it's something from your past causing you to always stumble in the food area or being lazy or slothy, then repent of that and ask the Lord to help you, because he says we can ask him anything. He'll lead us in every way.
Well,
so that's where I categorize that.
Confession time for me. It actually was not specifically in the terms of the behavior, but it was the part of where I'm so on the go that I don't rest. And I was so blessed to find that you played such a big emphasis or placed such a big emphasis on rest being cardinal to the success of this entire program.
Yes. Yes. And that really, it goes back to the foundations when God created the world in 6 days, and the 7th day he created Sabbath for us.
Isn't it crazy that we know the recipe, but we don't follow it?
I mean, we don't, and we think it's out there for spiritual and for religious people, but no, it's for everyday life, every week.
I think about baking a cake. I mean, isn't it true that when we bake the cake, you've got all the ingredients, and if you forget to put in the self-raising flour, well, that cake is not going to rise. And if we can follow a recipe when it comes to something that we want to consume, why don't we actually not follow a recipe for our own lives? Surely we are worth more than just a recipe to bake a cake. I'm talking about the people who need to look deeply, dig deeply and say, hold on, I'm worth more than just a cake that I'm going to present to somebody else.
And you are worth more than just, are you skinny, are you slim, are you healthy? You're a whole being. So really try to implement all those steps, right through. And maybe if you don't have success the first time, just keep on going. Eventually you will learn how to walk that walk. It's a progress, it's a journey.
I found it fascinating that once you sort of embedded with us the principle of body, soul, and spirit, then you start off with saying, all right, but you need to plan. It's not going to happen by itself. And then you go into goal setting. So help me link the importance of those two things. I've now decided I would like to change and I'd like to do things differently. Talk to me about those two areas in my life.
Okay, so when you start to plan, you have, you've got a map. This is the journey you're going to follow. You've got your map. Now you need to put little goals out there. So what is your long-term goal?
Okay.
What is it that you would like to achieve? But then start breaking it down in smaller, achievable goals. Okay. So that it's easy to achieve, because every time you don't hit your goal, you feel like a failure, and then you have your chances of succeeding is less. Yeah. No. So if you've got your little goal and you can achieve it, even if it's just 0.5 kilogram that you've lost for that week, or you only had a cheat meal once that week. You know, in your mind, you're gonna think, great, I succeeded. Even if it's that little goal, you succeeded. And the next week, your stepping stone is so much firmer for you to keep on going. So it's very important to have your goals.
If you look at 500 grams, you're talking about 500 grams, that's half a kilo. Let's say the person actually loses 500 grams over a 2-week period, but they consistently start doing it. Are the chances that they will end up being successful?
Yes, because slowly but surely is better than fast and furious. Yeah.
Now, just in terms of the goal setting, do you advise that people sit and plan those goals by themselves, or that they actually sit and talk to a coach trainer like you?
If they have a trainer, I would suggest talk to your trainer, because they will tell you if you're reasonable or realistic about your goals. I mean, if you have 50 kilograms to lose and you want to lose it in 2 months because you're going to a wedding, I'm going to tell you there's no chance that this will happen, unless you maybe go for gastric bypass, but you're not going to do it on a healthy training session.
And not everybody can afford that, eh?
No.
Absolutely.
And the thing is, sometimes you just need a soundboard, someone who's realistic, who's not your friend, who's not your partner, who's going to tell you, you know what? No, I don't think that's realistic. Let's get down to being realistic, and then you will have better results.
I must say, if there's one thing that I found, is that I sort of felt when you spend time with myself and my lovely wife, and the truth is we both were highly successful, you sort of gave us an ultimatum. Do you want me to be a friend? Do you want me to be a coach? I can't be both. Because
no, you can't.
You know, the moment you're trying to be a friend, we want you, don't be so hard on us. And you're like, well, do you want to achieve your goals? And we soon realized, you know, there's a difference between sitting and having a cup of tea together and being committed to a program. And I think that is a message that I would like you just to maybe talk to the person out there saying, I'll do it by myself. I can tell you that for me, unequivocally, the difference was that I had a coach that was committed, even more committed than me, to help me achieve the goal that I've set.
Yes, I think with personal trainers, and especially if you have clients, I mean, you are our advertisement.
Yeah.
If you don't succeed, it looks bad on my, shall I say, my CV, my resume, telling people, yes, I trained this one, that one, and who not, but they haven't achieved anything. So to me, it's important to advertise my services, but then also to say, but look at my client, look how well they did.
True.
I don't say, look at my client, they failed, because then what type of trainer am I? So yes, I have to be strict, but I also have to have compassion. So there are times that I will be softer, and especially take into account the client's circumstances. But at times you also, even in worse or bad circumstances, you have to be a little bit strict and say, no, come on. We can't keep on being soft on this. So no, it's a fine line that you have to walk with your clients, to be professional, but also be compassionate, because people go through bad things.
And I must say, thank you for that compassion, because at times you could see, listen, this dude didn't sleep last night. He worked throughout the night. He actually wanted to achieve a goal work-wise, and today cannot perform optimally. And therefore, he had a little bit of empathy and compassion, but still didn't let off the gas, because you realized it's my goal I wanted to achieve. And if you wanted to be a great mentor, you'd help me stick to my goal. Now, I want to look at a few other things. You mentioned a few factors, such as what you eat, what to drink, your metabolism. Please speak to us about those factors. Metabolism is the one that sort of drew my attention. What role does it play in terms of our program?
Metabolism is very important, because if you have a slow metabolism, you're not going to lose weight as quickly as someone who has a faster metabolism. Now, your metabolism can be influenced by your age. As we age, it comes down, becomes slower, by stress hormones, by hormonal fluctuation, especially with women going into menopause. Metabolism becomes a lot slower. So you have to try and do the training and the food around that. So you train different as well to spike your metabolism. So you'll do more interval training instead of just slow, steady cardio. But with women in menopause having a higher cortisol level, you have to now try to increase the metabolism without increasing the cortisol more. So there you try to do a combination of slow and steady to interval training. Same with food, you'll encourage people to eat food that increases the metabolism, anything to do spicy food, chilies, that kind of thing, peppers, or green tea, anything that will increase the metabolism.
So would like spicy food increase metabolism, for instance?
Yes, yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes, but not everyone can eat spicy food. So then you have to get other alternatives. Yes.
So in understanding you correctly, there is an expectation for women as they get older that their metabolism would slow down, and therefore the kind of exercising and the kind of eating changes if they want to be successful.
Changes. Yes, okay. Definitely. Okay, men are the same, but I specialize more on women, so I can speak from that point of view. But men also, their metabolisms also decrease, their muscle tone comes down, they lose muscle every year or every 5 years. But with women, yes, you change the way they used to train. What worked 10 years ago will not work anymore. The way they ate 10 years ago will not work anymore. So if you were used to Fit for Life eating in 2000, it's not going to work anymore because your body has changed, your metabolism has changed.
And what about the influence of stress factors, if now a combination of stress and metabolism? Talking about stress and the influence of that.
Stress creates your cortisol, which is your stress hormone, to increase. When your stress hormone increases, your body cannot burn body fat properly. So you need to train accordingly to try and bring that down.
Okay, now give us an example of how the average person, let's say age 50, would have trained. Now the stress level hits at work. In fact, they might even lose their job. What would happen to their body, and how would they might have to consider changes in their program?
Their metabolism will come down. It will slow down a lot. They will start picking up weight due to cortisol, and especially around the waistline. So it's your visceral fat starts picking up and adding on. So what you would like to do there then is do long, slow cardio. So long, slow walks, like an hour walk at a moderate pace, that kind of training. Or you'll do weight training with weights, but you won't add in cardio. You won't spike it with cardio. Okay. It will be slow and controlled. You'll bring in more Pilates, but not Pilates fit, normal Pilates.
Okay, now hold on. That's very interesting. If I can use myself as an example. As I changed jobs, I found that definitely my stress levels were up. And yes, I could see the cuddly flab side around my middle. And I'm a guy that sort of runs, call it 20 to 25 kilometers in a week. And I just started running harder and faster as best I could. But you know what? It made no difference to my weight. Why is that?
Because you actually increased your cortisol levels because you're running harder and longer. So you're not doing a slow, steady cardio. You're actually trying to spike it. You think the faster you run, the more you run, the more weight you're going to lose. But when you are fighting a cortisol hormone, you're not going to achieve that. You're actually spiking it even higher and higher.
Man, what you've just said to me is worth your time for me just to get my mindset in terms of, it's not me running faster and harder, it's about me adjusting the program according to my body need to address the cortisol. Yes. Because cortisol would rather have me do weights slowly, slow reps, than me going out and running faster.
Yes, and rather long walks, long, steady, calming walks, Pilates, slower, more relaxed. That brings down the cortisol level, and you'll have better results in losing body fat.
Okay, now let's combine that. So that now is stress, the metabolism, and then the eating pattern. Would you necessarily then change the way you're eating because the stress level is up or not?
Yes, you will bring down your calories. So if you do calorie counting, which a lot of people don't want to do, but it's a basic math sum. It's calories in versus calories out. So when you do that, and you also, you've got all the different diets. You've got keto, you've got low fat, high carb, you've got protein, high protein, low fat. There are so many different diets out there, and you need to figure out what works with your body. Now, with you and Michelle, you guys know you did great on a Banting / keto diet, which is a low carb, higher fat, and moderate protein diet. You had great results with that.
True.
But unfortunately, it is a bit more expensive kind of, because you need to buy proper meat, and it's butter and it's cream and eggs and all that. But when you start bringing that into your consideration when you do your training, then you will see your cortisol will also adjust according to that, in my experience. Maybe some doctor or some talking nonsense, which is fine. But from my clients' experiences, I've seen if they adjust their diet according to their bodies, where they react the best to it, the cortisol also comes down because they don't stress about the weight gain anymore.
You know, something that comes to mind now, I'm thinking of relationships, and I'm thinking of husband and wives who are not at a good place, and they're not coping well, okay? And the one shouts at the other. Maybe the husband is shouting at the wife oftenly, or the wife actually is quite harsh on the husband. And that will sort of raise, call it the inner stress level. And what you're saying to me is, even that relationship between a husband and a wife, if they cause that stress level to spike, it actually will slow down the metabolism, and they will battle to lose weight. Am I right?
Or it won't necessarily slow down the metabolism. It will spike the cortisol, which is your stress hormone. So the stress hormone will prevent you from losing weight then. So you need to bring down the stress.
The more we smile, the more we are soft and gentle with each other, the better the chances for the cortisol not to kick in, and the better the chances for the required weight reduction that we so badly want, that it actually will work for us, right?
Yes, and you can even go for nice walks together, nice, slow, long walks, and enjoy what you have around you. Gratitude. It makes you happy.
Smile. I spoke to somebody last night that said, what's your recipe? And I said, well, it's easy. We choose to be happy. No, man, you can't always be happy. I said, we choose to be happy. Take any circumstance, because we actually have worked out that the moment we are stressed with each other, which doesn't help, by the way, it just makes it more difficult to maintain and or to lose the weight that we would like to lose. So
that's true, because
we choose to be happy.
Yes.
So
yes, that's good.
And
because otherwise it can lead to emotional eating, where if you have stress with your hubby or your wife, you start nibbling on stuff you shouldn't be nibbling on.
Okay, now let me give an example. For instance, if you talk about, you're now getting a little bit peckish. It's 9 o'clock at night, and you've got the choice of having a chocolate versus having an apple. What's the difference? Help me.
Well, obviously the apple is healthier because it's got more fiber in, although it's also made of fructose, which is sugar. Okay. But the fiber becomes almost like a negative calorie, because it takes your body long to chew and to digest. So you use more energy to digest the apple, where the chocolate is just full on sugar. No fiber, so that goes straight into becoming fat.
Now, if I can ask you a trick question, if you don't mind, what about the guy that sits there and says chocolate versus a chocolate with, say, sucrose? No, the fake sugars, a Canderel chocolate. Is there a difference between a chocolate, a normal one with sugar, and one with Canderel? Be honest with us.
The Canderel has less calories.
Okay.
But yeah, so it's got less calories. So depending on calories in, calories out, where the normal chocolate has more calories. Okay. But in the end, your pancreas reacts the same to sugars.
Okay.
So your insulin will spike depending on what type of the day you eat, and also depending on what type of diet you follow.
So what you're saying to me is that it doesn't matter what you do, it's always going to come down to choice. What choice will you make at the time? You can choose chocolate with sugar, you can choose chocolate with Canderel, and they both will give you possibly the gratification of eating something sweet, but the one is still better than what the other one is. True?
It is, but it also depends on point of view, because, we all know artificial sugar is not that healthy. but other sugar is also not that healthy because it feeds cancer cells. So you have to weigh it up and decide. So maybe in the end, a fruit will be better than a chocolate.
So bottom line is, we need to stop calling our honeys sugar, because sugar ain't that good.
No, it's actually very unhealthy and very addictive.
Soria, you know, this has been a fantastic session. If you don't mind, I would like to actually speak to you in a week's time and just take it up from here, because we haven't even touched the basis of everything that you've written about here. I'm sure that my listeners are stoked with what we've had here. I just want to thank you for your contribution this week. Would you please consider another time slot and help us, and maybe take the book and say, look at this table here. This is how you apply it. So thank you for your time. This is all about unleashing potential, and I am just grateful. Soria van Wyngaardt, author of The Physical Discipline Side of the Discipline Lifestyle. A last word from you and encouragement to our listeners, Soria.
Well, I would say keep your eyes up, focus on your goals, and just keep going. Don't let anything distract you. Just focus on what it is that you want to achieve, and you can do it.
Thank you so much. I want to honor your next appointment, which is now just started. So bless you, and I'll catch you next time. Ladies and gentlemen,
thank you very much.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, and